Everyone, when you hear Electric Town, what place comes to your mind first? Tokyo's Akihabara and Osaka's Nipponbashi likely come to mind. Nihonbashi is a top electric town in Japan. However, the electronics stores have disappeared, and now many apartment buildings and hotels line the streets. Why has this happened? In this video, we'll take a look at the sad current state of Osaka's Nipponbashi, an electric town that's disappearing. On Matsume's Everywhere Exploration team, we'll continue to bring you lots of videos in the future. Please be sure to subscribe to the channel. So we've come to Osaka's second downtown area, Namba. Nipponbashi is located just a short walk from Namba. Even though it's called Nipponbashi, the area from 3-chome to 5-chome is known as the Electronics District. It feels like I don't hear it as often these days, but it was decided through a public contest in 1978. It's also nicknamed Den Town. By the way, blocks 1 and 2 are in Chuo Ward, and blocks 3 to 5 belong to Naniwa Ward. I thought that was unusual, but it turns out it wasn't anything special. There are also other places where town names are divided by wards. Even just within Osaka City, there seem to be cases like Kamishio and Bandai. What's up with that? The closest stations are Ebisucho on the Osaka Metro Sakai-Suji line and Namba on the Nankai Electric Railway. Well, you could walk if you wanted to, but Osaka Metro or Kintetsu's Nipponbashi station is not the nearest, so please be aware. Sakai-Suji is the main street of the town, and it's a place where many shops and people gather. Electronics stores have declined over the past 20 years. They have decreased, but about 200 electronics stores remain in Nihonbashi. That's what was written on the website, but I wonder if that's really true. I'll tell you the reason why the number has decreased later. Also, besides being an electronics district, it also has another side as a town of subculture. On the west side of Sakai-Suji, there is a street called Otaro-do. I'll explain Naritachi later, but it's an area with a lot of so-called subculture shops, like anime, manga, card games, and maid cafes. However, subculture shops have been rapidly increasing along Minami-Amadori, which connects Namba Station to Nihonbashi, and along Sakai-Suji as well. In recent years, it feels more fitting to call the area a hobby town that combines electronics and subculture. However, after walking around again, I was really surprised. There were so many foreigners, and the number of apartments and hotels has increased a lot. There are a lot of vacant tenants, and the area around the south side 5-chome feels deserted and has no energy at all. If I keep going, it never ends, does it? I stopped by to film, had Jiro-style ramen in Nihonbashi, and went home. That's about it. But I did notice these things. The Jiro ramen was really good. Let's review how Nihonbashi's electronics district was established and developed. Jiro. The Jiro ramen was really good. Before the war, this place used to be a district of secondhand bookstores. Literally, it was a town full of bookstores and secondhand bookshops that bought and sold old books and used books. Nihonbashi is still known as a secondhand bookstore district. It was as famous as Kanda Jimbocho in Tokyo. By the way, in Osaka, the area under the Hankyu Umeda overpass is known as a secondhand bookstore district called Hankyu, famous for its used bookstores. It has become a district of bookstores. The beginning of its history as an electronics district was after World War I. See? The electronics district began when shops selling parts and tools for prototype radios opened in this area. As refrigerators, washing machines, and televisions started selling, the area gradually shifted to home electronics retail. Some of the more successful electronics stores expanded, opening multiple large stores within Nihonbashi, and even branching out to areas outside of Nihonbashi. For example, Jushin expanded from Nihonbashi to a nationwide chain. It's a discount electronics store. Today, people visit not only to buy products, but also to interact with staff, hunt for bargains, and negotiate discounts, giving them more reasons to come. It became one of the reasons. During the bubble era, store staff said customers always tried to haggle. They lamented that it's not interesting if customers don't haggle or get bored. That's how popular it was. Everyone would just say okay and buy things, it seems. Whether that's good or bad, back then, store staff were expected to know much more about home appliances than today. Back then, you couldn't just look things up online because it wasn't that kind of era. When Windows 95 was released and the PC boom arrived, many computer stores started to appear. Many people visited these stores looking for knowledgeable staff. The prosperity continued until the bubble burst, but it was the large electronics retail stores that started to face some management troubles. Due to the economic downturn, there was a stronger demand for discount sales than before. I also mentioned that the strengthened electronics stores began opening branches outside Nihonbashi. However, because of that, consumers go to Nihonbashi. With products available remotely, main offerings shifted from low-profit computers, and investments from the bubble period gradually weakened their position. Other small and medium-sized stores struggled to keep up, focusing on popular business types. History kept repeating with store openings and closings happening over and over again. At one point, there were computer shops, cell phone stores, and even adult digital versatile disc shops. A lot of stores opened up, but those that lost the competition ended up closing down. Even now, the shops left in these fields have survived tough competition. I suppose you could call them veterans. I'm curious about how they differentiated themselves from other shops and managed to survive. Still, what they sell changes over time, and the cityscape keeps evolving. It's quite a sight. Just thinking about it excites me. For now, I'll go to Nihonbashi to see what's trending. I'll get a sense of what's popular. That's the vibe. Unfortunately, I don't know this era. If only I could time travel for a bit. Just for a bit? I really want to try it. You're probably tired from the explanation, so let's take a break. I'm also tired from working on the script. So, does anyone have a city that holds a special place in your heart? Nihonbashi, featured in this video, was where I spent much of my time in the 2010s. When I was into anime, I used to go there to buy anime merchandise, and when I was into idols, I went there to buy their photos. I've always wondered, what exactly is this huge object? Please let me know in the comments if you have any thoughts about it. If there's a city you feel attached to, please let me know. Now then, from the early 2000s, the decline of the electronics district began. This is a question for those living in Kansai, but do you all go out of your way to Nihonbashi to buy home appliances? Large number of people. I think most people would answer that they don't go. Even for people living in the Kanto region, if you ask whether they go all the way to Akihabara Electric Town to buy home appliances, I think the majority of people would say they don't. Now, there's no need to go because large electronics retail stores have started opening one after another. Nearby are Big Camera, Yamara Electric, and Ideon. Umeda also has Japan's largest one. There's also the largest electronics retail store in Japan, Yodobashi Umeda. In the suburbs, roadside electronics retailers are also increasing. Unless it's something really niche, you can buy it at these electronics retail stores. People started to leave Nihonbashi. The first reason why it lost out is accessibility. Since the stores are on the street, there are basically no parking lots, so it's assumed that people will access them by train. However, while it's close to Ebisu Castle Station, it's a station that people don't really use unless they're specifically coming to Nihonbashi. It's a bit of a walk from Minami-Uma Station unless you're on the Nankai line. Electronics stores in the suburbs have large parking lots, and the electronics stores in Osaka City are more convenient than Nihonbashi. They have stores in locations with good access, and then they attract customers with point rewards. When you buy products, you get a 10% return, and it's become normal for electronic stores to offer high point rewards. Points are for next time. People tend to return since they can use them on their next purchase, unless they find a much better deal elsewhere. People won't go to other stores. Instead of giving points, you can negotiate a discount on the spot. The Nihonbashi style has been left behind by the times. I spend time negotiating discounts. Personally, I'd rather just buy quickly and collect points, but it seems there are people who prefer to get a discount on the spot rather than points they can only use on their next purchase. Isn't it tough? Old shops are disappearing one after another. Speaking of large electronics retail stores, Matsuya Denki went bankrupt in 2003 and became a subsidiary of Yamada Denki, and even now some of their stores still exist. But they have withdrawn from Nihonbashi, where they were originally founded. Ninomiya went bankrupt in 2005 and then disappeared. Yes, some of the buildings are still being used today. However, there are hardly any traces left. Even the number of shops has greatly decreased. Including various types of businesses, there used to be more than 10 stores in Nihonbashi, but now, when it comes to electronics retail stores, there's only one left. By the way, the one that's still left in Nihonbashi is Dai. Only this Joshin store is left among large electronics retailers, the smaller ones. Small and medium electronics retailers have gradually disappeared. Convenience stores and restaurants moved into the vacant lots, but at first no tenants moved in. The buildings were demolished, and now condominiums and hotels are being built there. Around the year 2000, although not as much as now, it seems that condominiums and hotels started to increase. On the other hand, the Nihonbashi Tsuji Nishidori shopping street was the one that started to gain momentum. Originally, it was a shopping street where stockbrokers gathered. Starting around 1980, many custom PC shops opened. Starting in the early 2000s as custom PC shops declined while anime stores and maid cafes emerged. Subculture-related shops started moving in. Around here, I work at a concept cafe. Women are soliciting customers. If you walk alone, you'll get approached often, but I only reply to cute girls. I'm not interested in cute girls, so I just ignore them. By the way, this is the main street. I could have moved into the electronics store on the Sakai Suji side, but I didn't because there was a time when electronics stores and subculture specialty stores on Sakai Suji were in conflict. There's a possibility that the subculture shops avoided Sakai Suji. The term Suji became established around 2010 and began being used online. It became known as Otaku Street, and the name Sakai Suji was established. On Google Maps, it was labeled Otarodo. It originated online. It's interesting the reading also appears on Google Maps. Subculture shops continued to expand rapidly after that, spreading along Minamiyama Street, which connects Nankai Namba to Nihonbashi Station. Around 2,000 local shops were the main focus, but anime. Stores such as Toranoena, Gamers, and Melin Books opened. Also, possibly due to better relations on the Sakai Suji side, more and more subculture-related shops started to open up as well. Duty-free shops also began increasing in the late 2010s. Maybe it's because Dotonbori and Kuromon Market, which attract many inbound tourists, are nearby. So opening stores on Sakai Suji stands out. That's why there are so many foreigners. That makes sense. Since 2020, the coronavirus pandemic has dealt a major blow. Inbound tourists stopped visiting, and outdoor activity among Japanese people also fell sharply due to restrictions. Shops also have been closing one after another, and vacant tenants have become a noticeable situation. So let's get back to the story as of 2025. COVID damage lingers, but recovery is steady. Now it's the old main street. Compared to Sakai Suji, Minamiyama Street and Odaro Road are more lively now. It's near the station, and anime culture has become more mainstream recently. That's also a factor, and now ordinary young students are visiting. Inbound tourism has dropped significantly due to the pandemic. Due to the decrease in tourists, many duty-free shops closed down one after another, but now they've made a comeback. On weekdays, Sakai Machi Street has so many inbound tourists that they seem to outnumber Japanese people. Sakaimachi Street isn't really an electronics district anymore. It's hard to say that with certainty now. The Nihonbashi Suji Shopping Street Revitalization Association commented on the changes in the area, saying that as long as public safety doesn't get significantly worse, anything that brings more activity to the street is welcome. They don't seem to view the changes pessimistically. Yes, it does. Being flexible is good. On the other hand, the situation with the town names has become hopeless. Fewer people are passing by now, and almost no foreigners remain. Since it's far from Nanba, fewer people come now. It can't be helped. The chances of it returning are as low as me living to 10,000. Joshin existed until a few years ago, but it was demolished, leaving an empty lot. The decline had been ongoing for a while. And then it took a huge hit from the COVID pandemic, and even now the tenants haven't come back. Well, I actually like it when it's empty. I'm a Shinigami who loves empty places. That's why the 5th district felt the most comfortable to me. What surprised me most was how many apartment buildings were in the city. Clearly, in just the past 5 years or so, a lot of brand new, shiny apartment buildings have been built. Apparently, apartment buildings started going up around the year 2000, and then the Lehman shock happened. After that, things slowed down, but recently there's been another construction boom. There are also many apartment buildings currently under construction, and from now on, the number seems likely to keep rising, with many new hotels and apartments being built. Among these, many shops have disappeared, and in places where no successor tenants could be found, the buildings have been demolished. It seems they were rebuilt as apartments or hotels. It's a convenient city to stay or live in, isn't it? Because it's close to Nishinari-Aren District, it has a reputation for being unsafe. Since rent is low, the area has become popular, especially with young people. However, this could erode the town's unique character, so I hope urban development is handled carefully. From a landlord's perspective, though, they likely don't care about that. If I also owned land, and I got a good offer, I would just sell it to a major real estate company. If you ask whether the electric town has completely disappeared, that's not the case. There are still some shops here and there, and in areas called Gokai Department Store and Nihonbashi Shopping Street, there are still old electronics stores remaining. By the way, because the building has Osaka Specialty Gokai written on it, people often mistakenly think this building is the Gokai Department Store. It's not a joke. Even though it's called the Gokai Department Store, the building isn't 5 stories tall, which people think is a typical Osaka-style joke. But actually, Gokai Department Store doesn't refer to a specific building, but rather to the whole area. There used to be a panoramic tower called Chobokaku. A panoramic tower once stood there, and many shops opened for tourists who visited it. Gokai of Bokaku and the era's popular phrases. They combined local department store names and called it the Gokai Department Store. Returning to the story, the association says anything goes as long as the town prospers because it brings profit. Just because they ran an electronics store at this location, it's called an electronics store. It seems that many people here aren't particular about style. That's probably why the town keeps changing with the times. It's because they're not particular about it, which is why so many apartments and hotels are popping up everywhere. Electronics stores are gone, replaced by apartments and hotels. Seeing Menzentei change like that makes me feel a bit lonely, but as a subculture town, it's doing great. Many stores closed during the COVID-19 pandemic. As a result, there are still vacant tenants now, but since 2021, the number of new stores opening has surpassed the number of closures. Apparently, from 2021 to 2024, there have been as many as 61 new stores added in the Nihonbashi area. Since COVID-19, some areas lack returning tenants and energy. So it's impressive this area is different. Except for 5-Chome, the situation is trending. It seems like there are a lot of card specialty shops and cafes. Pokemon cards are popular, and I've been hearing a lot about cafes lately, so it makes sense. Going to Nihonbashi is always fun. It has a unique atmosphere. It has that feeling, and somehow it's also calming. It's hard to put into words, so someone please express what I'm feeling. Even though it's declined as an electronics district, I think it's amazing how the area continues to thrive in a different way. I hope it will continue to be a fun city for hobbies in the future. That's all for this video.